series on board is our Beyond the Podium series, and we have a great speaker on board this cruise, which is Malcolm Teasdale. You saw him on the first day, and he's going to share with you today his title called "It's Never Too Old for Adventure and Exploration."
I think that is perfect, because I think some people think, oh, I would like to do that, but I'll never have the chance. And he himself has shown that just get up and do it.
Yeah.
I shocked myself. I had never been to Europe ever until 2004. Much a little later than what I would have probably should have gone.
Yeah.
But I had the best time of my life and had no set itinerary. I just said, I'm going to do it.
No risk.
So get out there.
He's going to tell you all about how to make those everlasting memories. I'm sure it's going to inspire you. So don't miss that. That's at 11 a.m. in Celebrity Central, Beyond the Podium with Malcolm Teasdale.
Indeed. And also backtracking just a little bit at 10 o'clock at Celebrity.
So tonight's topic is you're never too old for adventure and exploration. And I know what you're thinking. What does he really mean by that? Well, I don't mean these things, especially the character on the right there, dress up as a clown and walk on a tightrope. I don't mean anything like this, because we're not going to do that. But rather some other, more adventurous stuff we can do in the world today. So why it crossed my mind to do this, and it was just a natural thing, actually. I'd been working, I was doing business travel for over 30 years. When I first came to America in the 80s, I was very fortunate enough to see the great country of America and Canada, actually, to be able to travel on business. But then I started to travel globally on business, and I did that for such a long time. Then eventually, the company I owned, we were a software development company, got bought out, and we were asked to, myself and my partner asked to leave, so we sort of retired. But I didn't exactly retire, because what does one do after they've been traveling for 30 years on business? They travel more. So my aim was to travel to these places where I never had chance to growing up and being in the corporate world of business, because I was going to the capital cities, the business hubs, and just attended meetings, albeit I did take a couple of days off every now and again when I could. But now I had the opportunity to travel a little bit more and go to places which people call sort of off the beaten track, or may ask the question of, why on earth would you want to go there? Now, some of the places I'm going to bring up during the presentation, you're probably going to think, well, why would I want to go there, and it's just too difficult. I'm going to try and simplify it as much as possible, but it's not out of the question, all right? And you can see what these places are like. So, some questions to ask yourself here. The bucket list, yeah, I know it's an overused term. I don't like using that personally, but basically, is there anything left you feel like you got to do? So I didn't want to be the type of person that was lying on my deathbed there, and they're waiting to pull the plug, and I think, oh, I forgot to do this, right? I don't want that. So I'm trying to do as much as possible while I can. I don't want to have any regrets. Now, do it while you still can. You're physically able and mentally able to do it, okay? My aim is to do as much as I can overseas, then do a bit more of traveling around the United States. I have a few ideas what I like to do in the United States and Canada, so when I get sick and tired of flying, which may be in my foreseeable future. Okay, suggestions. We'll start off with some wonders of the world here. Has anyone seen this place? Taj Mahal. Okay, right. Let me bring up a picture of that. There she is. Taj Mahal, located in Agra, India. You can get direct flights from the United States to Delhi, and then it's a 4-hour bus ride to Agra. I'm not saying you just go over that distance to go and see this place, but there's other things you can see in the area, like the Jaipur region, Bangalore, or countries around there. But this is one of the wonders of the world. And the Mughal Empire at the time was Shah Jahan, and he lost his wife, whose name was Mumtaz Mahal. And he decided to build this mausoleum for her because he was so distraught about it. So he was fortunate to have 20,000 employees at his mercy, and it took him 21 years to build this. Extraordinary piece of architecture. It's built of white marble, and it's like a huge jigsaw puzzle. Picture that. The pillars you see on the outside, it's like a protection, but if there was an earthquake, they're designed that they fall outwards so they don't damage the building. key about this building is if you're there at sunset or sunrise and the sun hits the white marble, it spawns off all these different colors. So it's a beautiful sight. And you've seen this on TV if you've seen the concert by Yanni in tribute. Anyone see that? Yanni by the Taj Mahal. You get the music fits perfectly with that location. But it's accessible. You know, direct flight to Delhi, it's probably at least a 12-hour flight from JFK and a bus ride there. Okay? Number 2 on the list, Angkor Wat Temple. Most flights out of the United States to Asia are about between 13 and 15 hours. It's a long way, all right. But once you get there, there's no direct flights to Siem Reap, Cambodia, but there is to the major cities, Singapore, Tokyo, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur. And once you're there, all these airlines, major airlines, have a hop, skip, and a jump to Siem Reap, Cambodia, where you can see the Angkor Wat. Now, this is an old Hindu temple dedicated to the god Vishnu that in the 12th century was converted to a Buddhist temple. It's one of the oldest temples in the world. It's massive. It's one of the largest religious places on the planet. And they have an area there, it's a staircase. It's quite steep. You can walk up. It's called the Stairway to Heaven, where the chief Buddhist residences were hang out. It's supposed to be a spiritual type of place. But it's a wonder of the world as well. It's accessible, a little bit more difficult to get to, but it's not that bad. And while you're in Asia, there's a plethora of things to do there, but that's just one of them which is becoming more and more popular and accessible. The pyramids of Egypt. Anyone been to the pyramids? Yeah, I thought more of you would go to the pyramids. Extraordinary, aren't they? I went there for work. Not to work on the pyramids, but I was there doing some work for the U.S. State Department during the first Gulf crisis there, and I did what I had to do for work. Then I took a couple of extra days to go and see the pyramids, and actually took a trip inside to the center of one of the pyramids. Okay, it's sort of a neat thing to do. Direct flights from JFK, and you're there to Cairo. Then you can stay at hotels anywhere in Cairo, but they're easy to see. So that direct flight to Egypt, you're in the Middle East area, and it seems to have settled down. There was some ruckus there recently, but I deem it pretty safe now. So there is a pyramids. Awesome sight. There's several of them there, and you can you can't go by yourself. I don't think you go by yourself, but you get a guide to take you inside the center of one of these things. Okay. Going on. Great Wall of China. Direct flight from Beijing, from Detroit, 14 and a quarter hours. Okay, and that's on a Delta flight, which used to be Northwest. So, yeah, you're going to be sleeping most of the way, but that's all right. I find traveling trans-Pacific easier than transatlantic, even though it's further, because I can rest more on the plane. Okay, so you get to the Great Wall of China, which access to some of it is just outside of Beijing there. So I took a ride to the Great Wall, and that's a picture I took. I walked a few miles up and down it. So when I came back to this little car park there, I decided to take a rickshaw ride there. It's one of these guys on a bicycle with a seat on the back. And I told him where I was staying. It was the Hard Rock Hotel, I think. And he asked me to sit in the back. So I was there comfortably. And he started riding his bicycle. And the funny thing about this, I'm paranoid about taxi drivers because I always think that when I ask them to go somewhere, they always take the long way around to charge me more money. Does anyone feel like that, or am I just paranoid? Right? Yeah, it does happen, right? Yeah. So anyway, this guy did not have a meter. So I was convinced that he's going to take the long way around. He's going to take the long way around. But the fact I knew he didn't take the long way around, because by the time we got to our hotel, he was absolutely exhausted. He'd just ridden a bike about 10 miles. I felt sorry for him, so I gave him an extra tip, and he was happy. I've seen this picture on the web. If you type in Tiger's Nest Monetary Bhutan, that's a picture you'll see. Not with me in it, of course, but you'll see that. Now, it's a 3-hour flight from Bangkok. Now, Bangkok is a fabulous city, one of the greatest cities on the planet. So once you've spent some time there, you can take a trip to Bhutan. The airport is Paro, and you have to get permission to go there. And I used a company called the Bhutan Travel Club, which I emailed to, and they got my permission slip to go there. It's all government run. They've been cut off from the rest of the world for years, centuries actually, and they're coming around a little bit to the 21st century, but at their own pace. Their history and heritage is very important to them. It's a very spiritual country, but it's absolutely spectacular. Don't go in winter because it's in the Himalayas. It's about, I forget how many feet up typically, but the capital city of Paro is surrounded by 18,000-foot peaks, some are 21,000. Paro Airport is the world's most difficult airport in which to land a plane. Now, I don't mean to put you off. I found that out after I landed, right? And the airline of choice, well, there is no choice. You can't fly any airline except Druk Air. I think Bhutan has another airline now. It's owned by the government, Druk Air. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they have, their fleet consists of 4 planes. That's it, 4 planes. Takes off from Bangkok, and I've never heard of this airline. And then I landed in Bhutan there safely. Then I found out a little story is when Prime Minister Modi from India took a trip to Bhutan to meet the leaders and the king of Bhutan, the Druk Air pilots had to train the Indian airline pilots how to land. It's a skill set that's only known by very few pilots, and they're all Bhutanese. It's very difficult. Now, I didn't know this. I thought it was a bit strange if we were coming in, take a sharp left, a sharp right, and wow, that tree looks pretty close to me. And it's like that. It's a bit unnerving. But fortunately, I had a glass of wine on the flight over there, so it wasn't that bad, you know. So we land in Paro, and I knew I was going to do this trek, and I stayed at least 3 days. You must stay 3 days there. It's a moderate to fitness level. And I know people who are my age, about 60, have actually done this trek. But the outcome after you've done this is it's a spiritual adventure to a place few have been. And that says it all. Now, what we're going to do now is a short video here, a minute. I have a GoPro camera, which I strapped this to my chest. And it was on all the time I was climbing. I'm not going to show you all that because we were trekking for hours. But this is just a small part of it. That's not a small part of it. Hang on a second. Let's take a step back there. Okay, let me click it here. Here we go. We're getting close to the temple. There it is. You're wondering, how on earth can you get there from here? So that gives you an idea of that location. And this is at 10,300 feet, of course. You can actually get a mule to ride some of the way, but 500 feet below that, the mule can't go any further because it's rough terrain there. So, but that gives you an idea. Now, move on to the next slide here. No, before I do that, I want to tell you a bit about Tiger's Nest Monastery. It's Tax Tang Monastery was the original name. It was a place of meditation until the myth has it that the great Buddha himself flew there on the back of a tigress into that monastery, and hence the name Tiger's Nest. So from the ground to where it is, looks like the only accessible route there is by catapult. Believe it or not, but you can actually go there. But when I had a tour guide with me because I had to, a young guy, very nice, who spoke good English. And we got to the monastery there, and I had to take off shoes and cameras and all that. It's a sacred place. And I tell you this because I'm not making this up, but we entered, and he said, let's go into this temple here, and why don't you meditate? Has anyone done meditation before? I don't know, but I don't know how to explain that. Every time I see a person meditating, I see them cross-legged and sitting upright. Well, I can't physically get in that state. So he said, just get comfortable on the floor. Well, okay, I laid it against the wall there, and I just had this adrenaline going after walking half the day to get up to this place. I did it. Then all of a sudden, all that feeling disappeared. And funny enough, I had this feeling that I'm in this sacred place and that nothing in the world mattered anymore, but more importantly, nothing in the world existed. It was completely void of anything there. And then 10 minutes later, we were leaving the place. It's something in it, I don't know, but it was very mysterious, I can tell you that. Victoria Falls, one more example to give you. This is easy. South Africa is a direct flight from Atlanta on Delta. Johannesburg, if you want to get out of Johannesburg or South Africa, then take an hour 40 flight from Joburg to Victoria, Zambia. Then I stayed at the Royal Livingston Hotel there. Gorgeous hotel, oozing with British colonialism. Great place to stay. Then you can actually walk to the falls from there. The best view of the falls is actually across in Zimbabwe. But you can walk across to Zimbabwe, across the bridge there. Okay, so I decided to stay in Zambia. Now, I've seen Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is spectacular, but when I saw this, my jaw dropped. You can feel the spray of it 2 miles away, right? So anyway, that's a picture of the falls that I took, and there's me with Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Okay? And that's in the Zimbabwe side. And you'll see some things like this. Now, this here is the Royal Livingston Hotel. So you have a lunch out there or an evening cocktail, and you see the spray from the falls is just there, right? So you can see the Zambezi River flowing rapidly through there, and there's the falls. You can actually feel the spray coming back at you. Now, for the insane people, bungee jumping, I don't think so. But people were doing that. Like 200 feet down, this guy's about to jump. His parents were watching him. And I don't know, that's a horrible look on their face. And the guy jumped off, and you can see him go down, and he come back. The Zambezi River there, it's way down. I'm not that brave to do that, especially at my age. So anyway, if you're into that type of thing, maybe you know some youngsters who would be, but I certainly wouldn't do that. And here's another insane character here. There's the edge of the falls. 15 feet in is this rock, and this guy's sitting on a rock there. And I thought, see, my adrenaline was so much, I thought, I can get there. I'm going to walk around and sit next to him on that adjacent rock. And no, I'm not going to do that. I come to realize I'm clumsy. And that's a moment of madness. I could just make it one step and I'm gone. So I just took a picture of him. But he was just sitting there, minding his own business, 15 feet from the drop of those falls. Anyway, nature's power, unbelievable. And you can see it as you fly in. You can be at 30,000 feet or whatever it is, it's coming to land in, and you see the falls from a distance if the sky is clear. Okay? But that's an hour 45 from our 40 minutes flight from Joburg up to Zambia, and you can take a safari while you're there as well. Now, it must be me. I have a negative effect on some things. You know, things break around me. I have that reputation. I did with my old company. Computers don't like me. I just calm. I don't know what it is. But while we were on the safari there in Zambia, we took a safari. Our little Jeep got stuck in the mud, right? And the wheels were spinning. I said, "Oh no!" But there's no wild cats there. So there's no wild cats there. That's our tour guide. No, there are no lions, no tigers. There was a rhino standing right about 200 yards away. I thought, "What? There's a rhino?" And so I had to wait an hour. We had to wait an hour before we got towed out of the mud. Anyway, that was a fun thing. Lots of elephants and stuff to do. A fun thing. Okay, it's all about adventure, isn't it? They don't say mistakes. Mistakes will be made, and you just took it. It's part of the adventure, funnily enough, isn't it? So, anyway, just a couple of pictures here. You've seen some of this. I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand once. I stayed at the Dara Devi Hotel, and we were surrounded by paddy fields. And I called up the reception. I said, "Can I do this? Can I go rice farming tomorrow with the locals?" And they said, yes, Mr. Teasdale, we'll arrange it. And they turned up at 8 o'clock in the morning with all my gear and my boots. And I went rice farming the day with the locals, planted rice in a row. All right? I was caked in mud, but what a great experience. Since I did that, the rice production in Thailand has dropped dramatically. Anyway, that was a cool thing to do. And yeah, this is at Pet the Tigers there in Chiang Mai also. That they do a good job of rehabilitating tigers and elephants, fabulous. And if you ever golf and you're actually in Thailand, they supply you with a caddy. There she is. And I'm saying, where's the GPS on the golf cart? That's it. She is it. You drive the ball, and they'll tell you how far you've driven the ball, how far there is left to go, course advisory details, hit it right, hit it left. She'll mark the ball, clean the ball off, just everything, advise you what type of clubs to use. And I go off the first tee, and I hit this ball, and it goes off into the trees. She said, not good, not good. That's my first shot. Oh, dear. So anyway, she was kind to me. And they got a great sense of humor. So it's a cool thing to do. And this is an old Maldivian boat. I was going to do a presentation on diving here, actually. We haven't got time for that on this cruise, but this is just an old Maldivian boat, and the Maldives there, the water in the Maldives. So anyway, that's just a few things. Now, the main thing here is, I say it's an age thing, but it's something that may put some ideas in your head that you could do. It's not, don't rule it out. You can actually do it. Okay? Now, Mark Twain is, right? Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. That's what he said, right? Right? And he goes on to say these things. Quote by Mark Twain. And I think all of us here could relate a little bit to this. Okay? It broadens the mind. It helps educate you. It's fulfilling. It's a great thing to do. That's a famous quote by Mark Twain.